Awesome. Well, thank you, Sarisha. Thank you to our panelists for being here today. Time is the greatest gift, so we really appreciate that you are gifting us with your time and valuable expertise. What I'm going to do next is quickly introduce the three of you by way of reading your bios. So you can feel free to, as I did, distract yourself by taking a sip of water or eating something as you get that read. After that, I'm going to ask you some questions. So I have some group level questions, which are going to be to everybody. And then I have some individual questions, which I will say your name and then ask the question. I am going to skip over a couple of questions just in the interest of making sure we have time for Q&A. But if we do have time, I can circle back to those questions. So just to let you know the path that we'll be going for the next 30 to 40 minutes. But without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce to everybody our spectacular panelists for this event, starting with Jared Stevens, one of my old students. Not that you're old, Jared, just that I had you a couple of years ago. But Jared Stevens comes to us from Colonial Life. Jared is currently working on his MLIS at the University of South Carolina. He graduated with a minor in information science at U of SC in 2019 and began working with Colonial Life. He now works for Unum. You'll tell me if that's right, Jared, the parent company of Colonial Life, as a senior business specialist. Next, we have Andrew Herrington, who's a Salesforce manager at Capgemini. Andrew Herrington is a manager in the Salesforce practice at Capgemini's Nashville, Tennessee Advanced Technology Delivery Center. Andrew has 3 years of experience in leading globally known brands, transferring their CRM, which stands for Client Relationship Management, platforms to Salesforce. Andrew specializes in client partnership growth and is responsible for ensuring over 2,000 users are successfully using Salesforce platforms in the span of 2 months. Andrew is passionate about making all feel welcome and empowered while growing in the firm, and centers and uses his tireless energy, love that, to encourage others to reach their full potential. In his free time, Andrew loves to explore all things local, walking unknown territories, trying new restaurants, and attending one-of-a-kind events. Well, you live in Nashville, so that's awesome. And then finally, we have Angela Craig, who's the executive director of the Charleston County Public Library. Angela Craig has been executive director of the Charleston County Public Library since April 2019 and has worked in public libraries since 2005. Angela has specialized in increasing library access to vulnerable populations and underserved communities. She is active in national and regional professional library groups and holds a master's degree in library and information science from the University of South Carolina, go Cox, and a bachelor's degree from Texas State University. So again, Angela, Andrew, and Jared, thank you so much for being here today. So now I would like to kick it off by asking a question to the three of you. And I feel like when I ask a question to the group, maybe we just go in the order of the intros. So Jared, then Andrew, then Angela, if that works for everybody. So the first question I have for the group is, what is a day in your life like at work? Again, what is a day in your life like at work? And I'll put that in the chat so you can refer to that as well.
Well, hello. Thanks for the introduction. Hi, everyone. I hope you can all hear me clearly. A day in the life of work. Well, since COVID started, I've been remote. So every day I wake up and drink my own coffee, which I love. But really, I start every day. I run reports based on kind of what our clients' interactions have been through the last evening and the day before, trying to figure out, what issues we're currently having on our site. So I guess I should probably start with what I do. I'm a senior business specialist, but what I really do is I help our company transition all of our really old, terrible website interactions and make them better, or hopefully make them better. But my company is not the best at doing that. So we have a lot of errors, and I run a report every morning and start my day off by trying to review that, and then take that and work with the business and our IT department to kind of decide what the next steps are in order to resolve these issues. using skills like, from obviously the School of Information Science, just learning what to prioritize and what, is the most important thing for our company to fix, because at the end of the day, we're a Fortune 500 company and we love money, and we have to find a way to save it and make it. So resolving business problems so that we can keep our clients and customers happy. But that's really my whole day. It's meetings all day on the phone.
Perfect. So I appreciate that point of view, Jared. I always get cracked up whenever I get what is the day in the life. So within consulting, it completely changes from day to day and also changes throughout the day. So also within being a manager at Capgemini in the consulting realm, so whether you're consulting with Capgemini or a different firm or Salesforce or with a different platform, I kind of differ on a lot of different things, kind of the same thing at the making money standpoint. Project wise, I do a lot of working with my functional team as well as the technical team to make sure we're all aligned moving forward. If there's any roadblocks, bringing it up with the client, being transparent, that way we can move forward efficiently and effectively. The fun side, the part I get more excited about, is things such as this, of like working with the recruiting, working with local colleges. I actually just moved to Nashville a month ago, so I've been living in Columbia for the past 7 years, and still Mr. Columbia at heart by all means. It was not an easy decision to move. So but with that being said, still get involved with like building the centers. So making people, whether you feel comfortable working at home or also you feel comfortable coming into an office, making sure that you're feeling welcome and also included as we're doing things within the center or for Capgemini as well. So kind of at a high level, that's what we are. I could talk about it all day, but I think that's where I'm going to put a bow on it.
Well, hello, my name is Angela Craig. I'm the Executive Director of the Charleston County Public Library. And what is a day in my life like? It really depends on what COVID is doing that day. I started in 2019 at CCPL as a director, and I had about 8 months of being COVID-free and not having that in my life at all. And then for the rest of my career as a director, I've been making decisions sincerely based around COVID. Which isn't to say that's not important. It's just been really interesting because I distinctly remember thinking as a director, I had all these great plans, what we're going to do. And it's just really funny how everything has changed. So sometimes we will have high level planning where we're trying to get back to normal. And we're trying to think through, how can we reopen certain aspects of the library and things like that. But then the CDC will change guidance, or right now, about 10% of my library staff, we have 317 employees, about 10% of my library team are grappling with COVID. And so we've had to amend hours and a lot of communication. And so I do have a schedule every day. I live and die by what's on my Outlook calendar, but also I'm very flexible by what needs to be done. Sometimes that meeting needs to be moved because we have to think through what the new hours look like, or we don't have enough branch staff to open up a location, or something like that. Or we have book bannings coming our way, and so we have to redirect whatever our focus was for the day. I do also try to put planning time in my day every day, even if it's just 30 minutes, so that I can move things around if I wasn't able to touch on it on the day that I thought I was going to. So a lot of meetings, a lot of communication, and a lot of planning for the what ifs. It's a lot of fun.
Great. So thank you everyone for your responses. Now I'm going to go into the next question, which I'll drop in the chat as well. I guess I could somewhat relate to this question, having an advertising undergraduate degree and not having anything to do with advertising, aside from being part of SJMC. But my next question to everybody is, what was your projected career path in college? What changed or stayed the same since then? So again, we'll start with Jared.
So when I came to USC, I was a biology major, and I took one semester of biology. And then in my spring semester, my freshman year, I had to fulfill a requirement. I took a SLIS 101, I believe it was, maybe 201 with Dr. Lewis. And from there on, my entire career path changed. Dr. Lewis, I'll embarrass her a little bit, but she's like a role model to me and one of the most amazing people I've ever met, especially at USC. I mean, helping guide me in my career path and really find out what made me happy and made me passionate. And so I transitioned from biology to criminal justice with a minor in business and a minor in information science. And that wasn't enough for me. So I decided to come back and do my master's. And now I work at an insurance company. So criminal justice really wasn't it. But the information science, hits home. I think my entire career and personal life revolves around, in some manner or way, information science.
For myself, whenever I first went to college, I was very passionate about entrepreneurship and leadership. So I went to school for business admin or business management, however you want to verbalize it. So I actually started my own leather bow tie business in college, and I thought that's what I was going to take on full time. And junior year came around, and I've always loved technology and business processes, and even from the business side, the functional side, right? So I took a web design class just because it was an elective that was needed to kind of fill in the slot, if nothing else. And the more that I was in the class, the more I got excited about learning about algorithms and how that plays into the everyday world. So being transparent, I didn't know consulting was a thing up until toward the end of my senior year. I didn't realize that could be like a career choice for somebody. So my academic advisor actually recommended specifically Capgemini for me. And then even if I didn't choose Capgemini, consulting could be a fun route for me to marry the entrepreneurship spirit with the technology world that's always changing, because I get bored very quickly. So always have to keep myself on my toes. So with that being said, whenever I transferred over to completing college and becoming a consultant, I definitely kept the values and the things that excite me, and I brought that into technology consulting. So for example, entrepreneurship. A lot of people think that those wouldn't be married, but in the sense of, I love learning about business processes, how to make the business better, how to make it more efficient, how to allow not only the business user to get more excited about their day-to-day job, but also the end user that they might be touching as well. So anyway, so that's where I started with college, kind of ended in college, and still developing, because I'm a firm believer you always have to be learning. So still developing in career path as well.
Yeah, my undergrad was in recreation administration from Texas State University, and I had a whole career with the YMCA before I landed in libraries, and didn't work out between me and the YMCA for various reasons. And my husband and I were in Charlotte, North Carolina, and there was a new library being built, Imaginon, which is a youth library, and it also is a children's theater. So it's a partnership between the public library and the children's theater. And was a library only for kids ages 0 to 18. So because I had all of this ample youth experience and I love working with kids, I was like, I want to go there and just kind of figure out what I want to do with my life. And I love libraries, and I think shelving books sounds really fun, and I'm just going to meditate on my future. And then it turned out that my future was the library, and I really love what we were doing. And I found a passion for public service and a way to work with the youth and families and caregivers and marginalized groups and all these things that I had been really passionate about in my previous career that I wasn't getting at the public library. And I had no idea that that was something available. So I ended up getting my library science degree while I was working full time, got it at USC, and I haven't looked back.
All right, so that's actually a wonderful transition into the next question, and I'm going to start with Jared. So Jared, you're currently pursuing your MLIS, or your Master's in Library and Information Science, while working full-time, so doing exactly what Angela was doing. And we've seen now that many of our information science students are choosing to pursue their master's right after college. So can you talk a little bit more about what inspired you to pursue a master's? And this sounds like a loaded question, but if you recommend that path to current students?
So for me, I think I recognized early on that if I was going to get further education, there was no way I was going to take a gap year and then do it. And especially now coming up towards the end of my master's, I know if I had taken a gap year, there was no way I was going back. But I kind of decided to, pursue this program because I don't think I really had enough time doing it when I was in my undergrad. Like I only had a minor in it because I didn't have enough time. I didn't want to add another year to my college experience. And so I was like, okay, well, I can go back get a master's. I love college, love U of SC, love this program and all of you on this phone call. And I was like, and then it will help me in my future career. I was lucky enough to have a great internship with Colonial Life that kind of stemmed from having information science on my resume, working in project management, really being able to understand like some of those core tenets. And I was like, well, my master's is going to just make me stand out and look better than others when it comes time to apply for big boy jobs. And now here I am.
Awesome, with the big boy job. And so now, Angela, I kind of want to take that question, but take it into a different direction for you. But you and Jared have a lot of parallels with your experience. So you also did your MLIS here at the University of South Carolina, and you now have a very accomplished career as an executive director of a library, and as a librarian in both Charlotte and Charleston. So can you tell us a little bit more about your role as executive director at the Charleston Public Library? And for our students specifically interested in library studies, what advice do you have on finding your area of specialization?
Thank you. Well, as director, it's a really, really fun job. It's my dream job. Even with COVID can't take that away, that I believe in what the public library is and what we do. And actually, when we were shut down to the public and we were thinking through what we needed to give to our community, what could we give on a virtual platform, even though it wouldn't be perfect, we realized we were making a lot of great impact with people that needed us. So it's been lovely that as executive director, I can help people be the best versions of themselves and encourage them to bring their ideas to the table, that is CCPL, and to think through where we need to go as an organization. That was my style always as a manager and a leader, and I learned that from some really, really great mentors, that the best way to get a team to function is not to dictate to them, have parameters, but not to dictate to them how you want it to go, but to ask them, how can we get there? Here's where we need to be, how can we get there? And the CCPL team has been wonderful at, as an organization, finding ways to navigate and getting to yes, which is fantastic. Finding your specialization, I really worked in a lot of different departments, particularly when I was with Charlotte Mecklenburg. I started in circulation, and my manager, after about 6 months, she was one of my first mentors. And at my 6-month review, she said, "You are a fantastic library employee, but circulation is not for you, because you want to do all these programs, you want to go out in the community, you want to help with story time, you want to do library displays, and I see you, doing reference questions with the public, and that's great. You need to go to library school. You need to be a librarian." And I really, really appreciate that a manager just told me that and didn't try to hold me back. And I hope in your career, I hope in whatever job you have someone like that to kind of help you tease out your strengths and help you figure out your path. Because I liked libraries. I didn't know if I wanted to be a librarian. And then I ended up doing just that. One of the best things I did was ask if I could shadow at different departments. And then I ended up moving and applying to that department. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do teens or adult or children's services. So I just sort of dabbled in all of them. And then when an opening came up, I knew enough about that department, how it functioned, that I wanted to go there. And I just never really wanted to stay in one place for too long. I've always thought that, I can be a children's librarian, but I can also be a branch manager. I can be in teen services. I can do a lot of different things. You don't have to be one thing. And I just highly encourage you to just try different departments, try things that maybe you don't even think are part of your wheelhouse, because you just never know. And also CCPL is hiring. So if you're interested, I'm going to put my email in there. And if you just want to look at our career options, and if you are interested, just reach out to me and I'm happy to talk through options.
That's excellent. I actually do have some undergrads currently who are interested in going and getting their MLIS degrees. So I will definitely also share this information with them and tell them to be in touch with you. And so the next question that I have is for Andrew. So Andrew, it's been really awesome to hear this year about some of our BSIS students landing jobs at Capgemini. Cool thing is they've been interning there, and then they've been getting job offers in their fall semester of their senior year, which leaves them like feeling, I'm sure, pretty good as they're finishing out the rest of their year here at U of SC. Can you tell us a little bit more about Capgemini and potential opportunities for information science students within the company?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is definitely the topic I could talk about all day, but I'm going to go kind of at a high level, and then we'll talk about what the day-to-day of some of those recent new hires or staff consultants, what they're experiencing right now. So what's really cool is that within consulting, and specifically within Capgemini, it's very cool in the sense of all are welcome, because there's some sort of place within essentially these group projects, right? That a role or a mindset, and also different mindsets, are helpful, because if we're looking at it from multiple people's different point of views, somewhere in there is the great answer, right? Or maybe it's building off of multiple people's point of views that we can build that great answer or solution, right? So talking about what do we do, what is Salesforce, what is Capgemini, kind of at a whole level. So Capgemini, it's an IT consulting firm. Specifically, I work in the Salesforce practice. So mentioned a little bit in my bio, but Salesforce is actually the leading customer relationship management platform there is. So the easiest example I always give out is whenever you call Amazon. Doesn't happen a lot, but if you ever have to call Amazon and say, I have a problem with my package or an order or something, it doesn't matter who you talk to, they're all fully aware and on board of like where your package is, how many orders you've had, who you are, what the customer experience has been. It's easier for you to get feedback. That is a CRM. They're able to access all of that information through their CRM. Maybe it's Salesforce, maybe it's not. Can't say that there. But anyway, so with that being said, I work in the Salesforce practice and also help our new hires or staff consultants, college students, get started here at Capgemini. So it's very important for us that people feel supported, included, and then also growing within the firm. So being transparent, I actually started as a staff consultant and knew nothing about Salesforce when I started, but I had the idea of a consultant and like being welcoming to continue learning new things and learning new business processes. So whenever you start, whether you're fully aware about all of the nooks and crannies that your platform may have that you're getting in position for, or you're starting fresh, such as myself, we definitely go through a lot of training, such as things as simple as how to submit your timesheet, all the way to what is a consultant. How do you present yourself in front of a client? What are good questions? Like how to think outside the box. If you're having a conflict within your project or within your client, how do we approach these kind of things? So with these new students that are starting here, there's definitely a lot of support, a lot of training, and also something I think that's cool that we do. Naturally people try to look for mentors or mentorships to continue growing, not only at that starting point, right? We actually kind of assign them, I use assign loosely, but we assign a starting people manager for you. So you can go ask questions simple as, I forgot how to submit my timesheet, or I don't know what my plan is. Like, I don't know where I can be growing. What are some opportunities here? So that's actually a partnership that we have. So time you start, you automatically have a people manager. If it's a good fit for you, you keep that one. That's what I was talking about loosely. If it's not a good fit for you, or not helping you and supporting you in the ways needed, maybe it's just you have different strengths in life and you want to continue working on your strengths. We open that up to maybe we can find a better fit for you. So but typically that's what it looks like at Capgemini, and also for people that are recently getting started here as well.
Awesome. And so the next question is going to be for all three panelists. And so specifically, we have a lot of students, especially at this time in the year, who are looking for summer internships. And so now I'm wondering, what advice would you give to those students who are looking for internships and then also jobs this year?
So I think the important part, and I kind of touched on it earlier, at least from my personal experience, was that I was a criminal justice major, and I just kind of on a whim applied for an internship at Colonial Life, an insurance company that couldn't be further away from criminal justice, and went in, had the interview. It went well, and I've been gainfully employed there for like 4 years almost now. So, I mean, I think it's really just keep your options open. I mean, don't completely dismiss a company because of what they do. Like you could have given me multiple choice options back in high school and I never would have picked insurance, but now I work at an insurance company. So I mean, you can find a role anywhere, and it's just, looking through those descriptions and, kind of just going through what handshake, I guess, is what a lot of people still use. Just go through it, read it, and like, oh, that company doesn't sound great. Read what the job actually is and see if that's something that like resonates with you. So I think for me, that was very important.
Building kind of on what top of Jared said, definitely use internships, not only an opportunity to strengthen and say, is this the career path that I do want to go down to? But like in the scenario of saying, I'm not sure how I feel about this other career, that's the perfect time to explore, right? Because you have that time frame, you're going to get graded or get the accreditation that you need, whatever the scenario is. Use that time to explore. Use it to explore of saying, oh, I got this opportunity that somebody thinks is a good fit, and maybe I don't think it is. That's a great time because you're just going to look at it a very quick snippet, but get a good 360 point of view. You're going to get those trainings, that intro, and you're obviously whenever you're interning, you're going to meet a lot of people because people are trying to let you know how the company is, that industry, right? So use that internship not only to say, what do I want to do, but maybe it's an opportunity to rule out something that you're not sure, or maybe you're not sure if you don't want to do, right? So definitely don't only go for the things like Jared's saying, don't go for the things that you only recognize, but also use that time to explore some things that you're not as familiar with.
Absolutely. I think interning is a great way to take an organization for a test drive. And I would say get outside your comfort zone. If you think you're going to be, for example, a public librarian and you want to focus in youth services, I actually wouldn't do an internship with the public library in youth services. I would push you to do something different. I would push you to do an academic library. I would push you to, and I've mentored people and I've pushed them to do different things, work in an archive, work in a polar opposite 180 field than the one that you think you're going to land in, because you probably know quite a bit about your chosen field anyway, and that's fantastic. But you want to develop those muscles in other fields, because I promise you that will come into play no matter what field you land in. So use it to explore, just like we were talking about, and use it to see how those skill sets you're developing that's different than what you think you're going to land in will bring what you can bring to the table when you have your ultimate job.
This is all excellent advice, and I think also gets at this larger point that information science is such an interdisciplinary field that really you can take the skills and apply it to all of these different sectors that maybe at like first glance seem very, very disparate and different from one another. And so I want to kind of go along the what advice would you offer vein of questioning to ask you now, what advice would you give college first year students coming in who want to pursue information science?
Gosh, going first, man, I'm really biting the bullet for everybody here. For first year college students, I think it's understanding that it's such a flexible area of study. You can really concentrate on whatever you want because everyone uses information science in some manner. Whereas, a lot of my peers now in the MLIS program are concentrating on like the librarianship side of it. I'm really concentrating on the project management, and being able to leverage that is what's made me so happy here. It really goes to show that information science is prevalent no matter what area you're working in, whether it is librarianship or an insurance company or Salesforce and Capgemini. Like you really can, it is what you make of it. And I would say that information science works great in tandem with another area of study. You can concentrate information science, but I specifically love it that it ties with whatever else you want to major in or work on.
I would say, especially for first year, and I think we're definitely like hitting the nail on the head here, but I mean, there is so much for IT in general, right? And there's the beauty in that, but there's also, I don't want to somebody to run into, like senior year stress of that too, right? So within first year, go ahead and start exploring. Like if you want, even if you're narrowing it down to coding, right? And you know that you want to develop something, still there's so like it stretches across all three of our industries, even with coding, right? So like even if you want to know, even if you know you want to do coding, start exploring what do you want to do coding? Do you want to do gaming? Do you want to do web development? Do you want to meet with our public libraries and see if there's a better way to organize within their databases, right? So also in addition to, I know that you're getting involved maybe on campus and maybe an IT club, but utilize your class projects too. So whenever you get to do whatever you want to for a year end or a midterm or a project, explore those different areas, stretch yourself. Don't only do what you're comfortable with, but explore other areas as well and say, maybe if this is something that I could take interest in, or if I know I'm going to do development, explore how many different areas of development that you have interest in. And then also back to the previous question, that's going to kind of help narrow down, where do I want to intern? Where do I ultimately want to work? Where do I see my career a couple years down the road? But ultimately, where would I want my career to be starting, and where would I want that to be growing as well?
I have some personal advice that someone gave me that I live by, and that is always do the thing that scares you. So as a first year graduate student, I recommend taking that class that terrifies you, whether it's coding or story time. Find that advisor or professor that really challenges your personal beliefs or what you think library science is, and work with them and listen to them, and have a dialogue. Join an organization, virtually, in person, whatever you need to do that helps increase your worldview, even if you don't necessarily agree with it. But do those things that push you and scare you a little bit, because that's going to help you grow. And I promise you, later in your career or very soon in your career, that stuff will come into play. You would have gone through a scenario. It's a nice, like I said, test run for real world issues and challenges that you will probably come across in your career, and you would have already gone through it in your first year as a graduate student.
These are all excellent answers. And I know that this question wasn't for me, but what I always tell students is go to office hours, but no one ever listens to me. So we'll just leave it there. Anyway, I have one last question for the panel, and then we can open it up for a Q&A. And so this is actually like the largest question, which is, what do you see as the future of information sciences field? How do you see the field changing over time? I know, it's like a dissertation, sorry. I put it in the chat as if that's going to help.
So for me specifically, and I guess kind of my industry, I think information science is leading more towards like these data-driven decisions. I think Unum is on the, insurance as a whole is kind of starting to get to that area where they're learning, oh my gosh, data analytics is so important. Oh my gosh, understanding that people dislike our website is important. They have issues doing this. So I think the data analysis portion, people being able to use RStudio to provide data that's digestible for executives, being able to use Tableau. I keep saying it, but just understanding data and the ways that you can show it to the people that it's important to. A lot of my job is, helping the IT people translate their work into what the business understands, because the business is the one who has all the money. The business is the one who makes the decisions. They decide what they're going to finance. And so if you can do that successfully, you can really, set up yourself and your company, everyone to do well. And I think, like I said, RStudio, Tableau, even Excel, just being able to use multiple different softwares and understand data is going to be the future. And it already is. It's already in today.
I always get also cracked up at this question as well, because even within this phone call, information science has changed so much, and it's been half an hour. So it's always hard to tell like where the future of information sciences will be. So I'm gonna, maybe it's against rules, but either way, we're gonna go that way. But how to prepare yourself for the future of information sciences, I think that's an important conversation to have. So how to prepare yourself is actually a part that I was told when I first got started here at Capgemini. We can't predict where information science is going to be realistically. We can say from a data standpoint where it's kind of heading and where short term kind of some hypothesize, right? But how do we prepare ourselves, and how do we prepare ourselves, especially in these careers? Because especially whenever we're basing our careers on it, like how can we be good at information sciences or in IT in general, right? So with that being said, I definitely always say, and it was said to me also whenever I started here, like I said, make sure that you're always willing to grow and learn with wherever technology is going, but also where do you want to go with it? So kind of going back to this college career experience that we're talking about here, IT, like I said, it's changed a lot, even from whenever you started to where we are now, right? So not only after you graduate, keep that mentality of I want to grow and I want to explore and I want to see where my interests and my passions are here within the IT or information sciences realms, because again, it's changing, and as we continue on down the timeline of the world, I guess you could say, our changes are going to continue skyrocketing. If we throw in AI, right, we're tremendously advanced more than where we thought we would be ever 10 years ago. So it's hard to predict where we're going to be, but if you want to be with us on this cool train ride, definitely make sure that you continue challenging yourself, growing, and becoming interested of what's next and becoming part of that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Andrew. From a public library standpoint, I like to focus on making sure we're meeting the community on whatever platform they need us to meet them on. And, I'm sure you've all read the articles where it's something like, the book is dead, print libraries are done, ebooks are everything, blah, 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 and that's fine. If books are dead, I'll go to the funeral and throw flowers on the grave and then move on to the next platform, because information science is whatever the platform needs to be, whether we're in person talking to someone or we're holograms or whatever it is, we need to be able to meet our public, our patrons, our communities on the platform that they're using. And I, hate to break it to the people who think that, books are dead forever. There's always going to be those marginalized communities that access desert. It doesn't matter how much people have smartphones or, whatever else. Digital equity is a real issue at all points in our country and worldwide. And so I don't think that the print book is going to be dead really ever, because there's always going to be people that will not have equitable access as long as we have the infrastructure issues that we have. So I'm very focused on wherever our patrons are, meeting them on the platform, but also not leaving people behind.
Again, these are all fantastic answers and insights, and I really appreciate all of our panelists today participating in this conversation. But before I turn it over to Sarisha for our question answering, I just wanted to say, for the benefit of the recording, since students won't have access to the chat transcript, when Jared was talking about the importance of understanding how to use Tableau, I just wanted to plug that we will be offering next year for undergraduates an information visualization class, which specifically will go over how to use that program. So definitely keep that up here if you are not a senior yet and you're looking to register for classes for next year. And so with that, I want to turn things over to Sarisha, who's going to manage our question and answering. And once again, thank our panelists for their time today.
Absolutely. I thought that was incredibly insightful, and I thought there was a lot of similarities, but also kind of like mild differences between your answers that were really helpful, because this is such a diverse field with so many options for our students. So thank you all so much again for all of your insights. So no one has left questions in the chat. So I would like to ask any students who are interested in asking questions, if you feel comfortable, you're welcome to unmute. And if you want to turn your video on, you can. If not, that's okay too, and ask your question. If you prefer to put it in the chat, I can ask it for you, but I'll let the students take it away. All right, maybe if Dr. Lewis wants to start us off, just so kind of get ice broken a little bit. Maybe we have some nervous students who don't want to ask quite yet. So if you wouldn't mind, we'd love it if you could ask a question.
I'll be happy to ask a question. And I know that there are a couple of students in here from class that I'm pretty excited about that are fairly new to the field. So I'm just kind of wondering, was there anything that you did during your undergrad that was highly impactful, that would be beneficial for information science students to take part of, since the name of our degree isn't exactly straightforward in what you can do with it? So I'm just wondering if there were any experiences that you all had that you saw as kind of a springboard into where you are now.
Jared, did you want to start? Or
No, you can start.
Okay.
You can go first this time.
Yeah, I figured at least one time we won't let you go first. So, so I think I talked about it a moment ago about the internships of exploring areas that would be of interest or wouldn't be of interest. So I actually used my senior capstone in college to discover that I really, as much as I love IT, I do not want to be a coder. That was not a direction I wanted to take. So, so that definitely helped me as far as figuring out exactly where in the IT world I was. So just being transparent on what my capstone was, for our cafeteria at college, I wanted to be able to create an online app to where you could order food and pick it up, similar to you do for Chick-fil-A and Starbucks, right? So I was in charge of creating the user stories, developing the whole platform, getting feedback, changing it. So really got a 360 view, which I still didn't realize at this point I wouldn't want to ever be a consultant, but I got a 360 view of what it was like to build an app, right, from start to finish. But with that, I also realized my absolute least favorite part of building the app was the actual building of the app, the coding part. So, so with that being said, again, and I think Angela said it a moment ago, like explore things that you're comfortable with, but also explore things that you're uncomfortable with. Because I knew I was uncomfortable with coding, and I thought I didn't like it because I was bad at it, but really I didn't like it. I didn't want to be good at it because I didn't like it. So, so definitely use the time that you have in college and really projects outside of class projects, whether you're in a club, use that time to explore and really discover what do you want to do. You have a major, that's step one. Step two, where do you want to take that major? There's plenty of opportunities out there for you.
One thing that I did, and maybe not necessarily specific to this program, but just as a general thing for, I think, every student, graduation with leadership distinction at the University of South Carolina is such a rewarding experience in every facet. I mean, it goes on my resume. It's like one of my first bullet points, graduated with leadership distinction at UFSC. But then I also, it helps me round out these skills. It helps you, showcase how good you are at speaking in a public forum and, being able to present data and then talk on your feet. I mean, it's just a great way, I think, to round out like anyone that's going to be successful. And like, at least for me in a business setting, like you need to be able to be on your feet and just go with whatever topic they give you, kind of like today. So graduation leadership distinction at USC, and they make it sound harder than it is.
I really appreciated being able to hone my communication skills on, again, different platforms. When I was getting my graduate degree, it was one of, I think, the early years of Blackboard. I graduated in 2009, and there were professors that would not teach their classes on Blackboard because they said you have to be in person for it to be impactful. And so there were some classes I couldn't teach because they just weren't offered. Now I know it's different now, but it was interesting. I did my entire graduate degree online. I know it's not atypical for y'all now, but my undergrad was completely in person, and then my graduate degree was virtual. So I had to pivot my communication skills really, really quickly and get concise and work on elevator pitches and be able to get my point across in not long rambling, text or things, but just like really being able to be an effective communicator, whether I was in person or virtual, and feel comfortable however I was conveying information. Fast forward now, that's all we do. And that's helped me a lot. So I would say, develop your communication styles and try to think about where we're going as an industry think about, again, I keep talking about platforms, but how do you translate on the different platforms, in person, virtual, over the phone, things like that, and make sure that you're able to get your messaging across, and that your patron, whoever it is you're interacting with, is able to understand what it is that you're conveying.
Great. So Marcus put a question in the chat. He asked, how did the tools you learned in the information science program help you in your job? Jared, do you want to start with that one?
Sure. And I think I'll provide kind of an anecdote. I took a class with Dr. Freeberg where we had to work with a local business or charity. And for me, I got to work with me and my peers. We had a group, we worked with Special Olympics, and it was, going over one of their business programs and kind of deciding, is what they're doing could they do it better? And having that real life experience, thank you to Dr. Freeberg for lining that up for us. But it was really okay, these skills translate into real life, and it's not just on a multiple choice test or an essay. I'm actually working with a real life charity, multi-international big deal company that does, and I'm helping them refine a business program. I mean, to me, that was such a fantastic experience that really showed me that, oh my gosh, you can use information science in literally anything. So maybe not specifically a tool, but, the program itself provides you with the means and the opportunities to set yourself up for success.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Jared there. So coding platforms, Tableau, for example, those are the tools that get your foot in the door. Those are the tools and the skills. That's kind of the, to say transparently, an expectation, right? If you're going into the field, if I'm going to go work at Microsoft, I probably should learn how to use Word and PowerPoint, right? So that's definitely going to get your foot in the door. But those I don't even like to use soft skills, but the skills and the experiences and how to deal with situations, the reactions of these tools and projects and the way that you're presented of questions, that's what's really going to help you for success whenever you're moving forward. So, for example, that class project seemed to help you a good amount, Jared, which makes perfect sense, right? The senior capstone I got thrown a couple of curveballs. At the time, to be transparent, I was really frustrated. Every time I thought I was almost there to the finish line, my academic advisor go, no, I'd rather you do this. I was mad, right? But realistically, and I didn't realize it at the time, it was helping me be able to adjust. And that was even before COVID, talk about an adjustment, right? So with that being said, in the real world, these real world scenarios, it's great to have textbook knowledge, but you also have to have that real world knowledge as well. And whenever you marry the two of those, that's definitely going to set you up for success.
Yeah, Jared and Andrew, you hit it on the head. It was really nice to have group projects. It was really nice to collaborate. And I'll be honest, I, as a student, was not a fan of group projects because I wanted to just do it on my own, because I knew I was probably the best person for this project and I had great ideas and they were going to be great, but that's not real life at all. I am a library director and I'm highly collaborative. I cannot run the system on my own. It doesn't matter if I'm a library director or not. When I was a team services coordinator or a circulation generalist, you can't do things alone. And I know in Jared's field and also Andrew's field, you just can't be an island unto yourself. So one of the best things that graduate school work did for me was, to help me collaborate with different people. And the neat thing is, we were public focused, we were academic focused, we were school media, and we all kind of brought a different viewpoint to whatever project we were doing. And that, again, opened my mind, my possibilities, and helped me later when I have to work with different groups of people, different agendas, competing viewpoints, and we have to reach consensus. And so those are really helpful. And I was really glad I was forced to do it. I ended up liking them later. But I just remember dreading the first group project, and I ended up making lifelong friends from that class. And so I just say, just give yourself to the process, trust the process, and enjoy those times.
Great. We probably have time for one more short question. If anyone wants to volunteer, feel free to unmute or put in the chat.
I've got a question.
Oh, go ahead,
So,
Dr. Kennedy.
Yeah, and first of all, thank you guys. Such thoughtful responses, and Vanessa, great job. And also Sharisha, I've enjoyed this very much. In fact, I wish I had all this information when I was starting a career. We won't say how many years ago, but I really enjoyed your thoughtful responses. So Jared, I know you were a minor in information science here. So how did you navigate all the career paths that were out there for you? How did you decide what was the right fit?
So I think the hard part about having the minor is that I felt like there was so many opportunities out there. And honestly, it sounds like it's kind of cocky, but like you can do so much with information science. I felt like I was applying to so many jobs because I was like, okay, I can reasonably fit most of these standards. But navigating them was really, finding out what I was passionate about and what I liked about information science. I had great staff at the school who helped me kind of figure out what made me happy, what made me tick, and what I really wanted, my end goal, my 5 to 10 years, what I wanted in life. So navigating that, I'd have to thank the staff at U of SC for that. As for what I decided was the right fit, honestly, Unum had or Colonial Life had a very, what's the word I'm looking for? It was a very lucrative offer compared to other internships. I mean, so just what the risk out or the pros outweighed the cons, I guess. And then also they said they'd pay for my master's degree. And so now I'm there, finishing up my master's. But the minor really, transitioned into so much more. And the staff here has been amazing. I love and appreciate everyone on this call for all they've done for me in my years here. So glad I can give back by being on a panel.
Great. We're glad to have you back on a master's level. Thank you.
All right, well, we will stop there. I just want to say thank you again to Angela, Andrew, and Jared, and of course to Dr. Kitzie for moderating this panel. Thank you all so much for being here and for your time. I will send out the recording and everything tomorrow. If it's all right with you all, can people add you on LinkedIn just for networking and things like that? Yeah, okay, great. So we always encourage our students to use LinkedIn and use their professional networking tools. So you might get lots of requests coming your way in the next couple days. All right, I'm gonna stop the recording.